Good morning. This is Richard Peter, the founding member and political director of the Glorious National Party. Today's date is Thursday, February 26, in the year of our Lord Jesus Christ, 2009. Last night I had an opportunity to download the Secretary of Treasury's Capital Assistance Program, and I was absolutely appalled at what I read there. Let me give you a brief history of how governments have interacted with the private banking systems and why that unholy alliance needs to be destroyed and completely destroyed. I want you to imagine with me that you're a politician that wants to be president of the United States. Let's say that you're a Democratic candidate and you know that it's going to be very, very popular for you to advocate tax cuts and also to put forth government programs that will meet the basic needs of your people. And you rationalize it this way. You say, look, there is no way in the world that I can be honest with the American people and say to them, I'm going to raise your taxes in order to pay for example, national health insurance or college funding or whatever the program may be. They're all worthy programs. I'm not denying that whatsoever, but you want to be president of the United States, so you definitely want to promise the people the things that they need the most. Health care, government grants to go to college, and all the other things that you need to put together in order to get the nomination of your party and to get the most votes at election time. That a politician is in business to get elected and to serve his own interest. Believe me, that is their first and their primary concern, to get elected and to serve their own interests. They're not in it for charity. They're in it to win. They're in it to do whatever they have to win, consistent with the law, though some of them have broken the law. And so they basically tell the American people, we're going to lower taxes, give you whatever you want when I'm elected president, whatever you think you need, we're going to fix all your problems for you. We're going to solve the problems of the economy. We're going to give you jobs. Boy, you're going to be glad when I'm the new president because change has come and we're going to change. Don't be too specific until you get into office because you never know what kind of compromises that you're going to have to make. But I'm going to change things. I'm going to be the president of the United States. I'm going to lower your taxes except on the very, very rich, appealing to the egalitarian sentiment of the country. And believe you me, I'm going to give you all these things that you want without raising your taxes. Now, an honest politician would say, if you want all those things, we're going to have to raise taxes to pay for them. It's just like when you go to the mall to Christmas shop. If you want all those toys, you better have the money to pay for them. But politicians are far from honest with the American people. And all are guilty. The Congress and the presidencies, going back to the formation of the Federal Reserve. Well, anyway, here's the shell game that they play. Okay, I know when he's meeting with, when the candidate is meeting with his private inner circle, his inner advisors, the conversation goes like this. Well, now look, you know we're not going to raise taxes. We're going to have to promise the people everything that they want in order to get elected. So what we're going to have to do is go along as all the other presidents have done, with the exception of President Kennedy and Abraham Lincoln and others that I could name. We're going to have to go along with all the other previous presidents, including Ronald Reagan and Bill Clinton. We're going to have to make a pact with the devil, that is the Federal Reserve and the international banking cartel. Now, you may ask, am I a conspiracy theorist? No, this is no conspiracy. This has been in the open since 1913. Politicians of both parties, Republican and Democratic, have gone into this unholy alliance with the Federal Reserve and the banking cartel. And why do they do that? It's because they can promise you everything that you want. They can lower your taxes, but they go to the Federal Reserve and borrow the money to give you everything that you want. Now let me repeat that. The politicians of whatever flavor, Republican or Democratic, that want to get elected and reelected, and this has been going on since 1913, it was a grand bargain that Congress and the president, and that the candidates for Congress and that the candidates for president went into consciously, deliberately. They went into this bargain because now they can get elected without raising taxes, but turn right around and borrow the money from the Federal Reserve, printed money, money printed out of thin air, so that they can give you everything that you want. And you say, well, no, my taxes aren't going up here, and it's okay for the government to borrow money in my name as the American taxpayer. But what you don't realize is that inflation is the price that your children and your grandchildren are going to pay. Think of it as a rich, thick onion soup. I'm very fond of French onion soup. If the waitress brought that out to me and I took one spoonful and it tasted wonderful, I'd say, boy, isn't that just the best soup I've ever had. But then if an enemy came along and put water in the soup, watered it down, it would lose its flavor, it would lose its potency, and I would probably find another restaurant to go get my French onion soup from. Well, what happens is the Federal Reserve prints money out of nothing, thus lowering the value of the dollar down to 4 cents. There's no gold or silver to back it up, and they churn this money out and loan it out fractionally. That is, the banks are allowed to loan it out again 10 times more than what the actual deposit is, so everybody's happy. Everybody's getting new houses. Everybody's getting new cars. Everybody is socializing and having cocktail parties. Everybody's going to concerts. Everybody's going to the Super Bowl. Everybody's having a good old time. They're buying cars, Mercedes-Benz, Cadillacs with all the toys. They're buying houses far bigger than they need at prices that they cannot afford, and this goes on for 10 or 15 years and everybody's happy. Greenspan just churns that money out. The banks loan money at zero down, and they say, okay, we're going to bump the payment up in 4 or 5 years, and don't worry about it, honey. Here's the keys to your new Mercedes. Drive on down. Drive on down now and move into your brand new $300,000 home that you can't afford, but your credit's reasonably good and you've been on the job for one day. So we're going to go ahead and let you have this. This went on and on and on. Okay. The politicians loved it because they could get reelected without raising taxes. The Federal Reserve loved it because they could hold on to that gold that they've got locked away. And I'm telling you, that's a story that that CNN ought to get into. Just see how much gold that they've got, but they won't use it to back up this currency. Why not? Isn't that an interesting question? Why not? Why won't they use this gold to back up the currency that they're printing? Interesting point. They've got the gold, but they don't give it to us to back up our currency, do they? Well, I've proposed elsewhere the solution to that problem. Now, here's what Geithner's doing, and what, unfortunately, President Obama is a useful idiot for the banking cartel. Yeah, Stevie Wonder can come and sing to him, and he can give out medals. He can fly around on the big jet. He can dance with his beautiful wife, Michelle. But they remind me of people on the Titanic that are dancing and drinking and holding their head high and having a wonderful time, our first black president. But what President Obama doesn't realize is that the Titanic hit an iceberg. And here is the iceberg. Toxic assets. What the Treasury Secretary Geithner and Ben Bernanke want to do, remember, they work for the international banking cartel. They don't work for the American people. They are going to infuse your tax dollars and my tax dollars, printing up monopoly money that is not backed up by gold, and they are going to give these bad banks infusions of capital after they pass a stress test. And I guarantee you they're all going to pass the stress test. They've already given the answers to the people in advance as to what they've got to put down to get your tax money and my tax money. Come on, folks, this is not really hard to see. And so that goes in, and now the American taxpayer is on the hook with preferred and common shares of banks that still have toxic assets. Well, I propose a solution to the problem, and I'm going to announce tomorrow a very important announcement. You all please stay tuned. But it appears as if the Glorious National Party is going to have to nominate a candidate for the President of the United States, a candidate that will stand on honest money. Unfortunately, Ron Paul will not leave the Republican Party. I'm not a member of the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. I might as well go on ahead and announce it now. It's 9:46 on today's date, which is February the 26th, 2009. I'm announcing my candidacy as for presidency of the United States. Thank you.